Hey everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. Today we're going to talk about is being a virtual assistant for you, which is one of my very favorite topics. I love to talk about being a VA because honestly, it changed my whole life, being a virtual assistant. I went from, having a job and a boss and politics and all that stuff to really being able to just decide how I spend my day, who I spend it with. And I love to spread the word about how this all works because I want it for you as well if it's a good fit. So while you are coming in, please jump in the comments. Tell me where you're coming from. Tell me where you are in your journey, and my goal is to answer all of the questions. So put them in the chat. I want this to be very interactive. Don't worry about interrupting me. I'd love to hear what's on your mind. Okay, so let's jump in. All right, so I want to talk about where I was when I started my business. And believe it or not, it's going to be 11 years on Wednesday. And stand by because we're going to have a fun things happening on Wednesday in the group to celebrate. So 11 years ago, this is what I looked like. This was my daughter, Emily. I was, I was 49 years old, almost 50, and I was in kind of a train wreck, actually. I had a ton of debt, not a ton like, $2,000. I'm talking about a ton of debt. I was not able to pay my mortgage for well over a year, so you can imagine how stressful that is. And it wasn't the kind of debt where I had all these lovely memories, like, oh, we went to Disney World, oh, we went to Europe. It was like we needed tires, there was a medical bill, that kind of debt. And I'm always so optimistic. I just thought, next month I'll be able to handle it. I'll make a little more, it'll be fine, and it just, I just never was able to manage it. And at this particular time of my life, I was a newly single mom, so that has its own challenges. Just finding a new routine, a new rhythm. I was very grateful to be able to spend so much time with Emily. And it's, it's a wanted responsibility, but it was on my plate, everything. And we worked well together and we figured it out. I'm just looking at that little sweet face. And now she's 20. I didn't have a job. And I needed to figure that out. I knew I did not want to go back to the work I'd done previously. I worked in IT as a project manager, and that is very long hours. And I didn't want Emily to be, like shuffled from place to place to place. I just didn't want that. She already had enough going on with her parents getting divorced. I didn't want to add stress on top of that as well. So I had to figure it out. And then on top of that, we had to move 3 times in 4 years, to get in the right school district, to find the right rent, the whole thing. So I did not start my business in like the easiest time. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I know a lot of us, and I think this has to do, the personality type that typically is attracted to being a VA is the one that likes things in neat little boxes, everything just tied up. We know the answers, we know what we're doing. And so starting a business when my life was so chaotic was very uncomfortable. But I'm here to tell you that you can absolutely do it. So this is what I did. I started to temp a little bit. I'd been an admin in the past, and way back in my 20s. And I knew how to type. I knew my way around the computer. I had some, I knew Microsoft Office because I had a job for years, and I knew how to use Constant Contact, but that was kind of it. I knew a little HTML from building, websites on AOL like 100 million years ago. So I came into it with not a lot of, click funnel, marketing automation. I had no idea what any of that stuff was. But so I started to temp. I thought, okay, here we go. And what I realized very quickly was I loved the work, and I couldn't make enough money because, when you're a temp, you're paying the person is paying the fee, plus the agency has to get compensated. But what it did show me is that people were willing to pay the agency plus what I was asking for. And that might start to be enough of what I needed. So I decided I was going to tell everybody I knew, everywhere I went, that I was doing admin work, freelance. I didn't really know what a VA was at that point. And I don't think very few people knew what that phrase was, because we're talking 11 years ago, right? Things have changed dramatically. So I started telling everybody I knew. One morning at the school bus stop, I told one of the dads, and he said, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I'm starting a business right now and I'm drowning. I really need some help. Can you help me?" And what he needed help with were really sort of life skill, common sense things, like paying his bills, like buying computers at the Apple store. He told me exactly what to buy. I just went and bought them. Loading software, paying his bill, answering emails, answering the phone, running errands, very simple things. And it was not virtual at first, but it quickly became virtual as I got my second client, who I met at a wedding reception. And he wanted me to help support a live event that he was doing at Constant Contact. It was a speaking engagement. He wanted me to collect the money, sell his books in the back of the room, format a handout in Word, hand it out, and go to the event. And afterward, we were talking and thought, it would be super cool if he could do these as webinars, and we could, because he could. It wasn't just everyone who could be in this part of Massachusetts at a certain time. It could be, people all over the place, and you could sell the replays and all that. So we started doing that, and he paid me to figure out how to do that. And together, I made a lot of money supporting him, and he made a lot of money with these webinars, and we still do them today, 11 years later. So, you just never know where you're going to meet people. You just have to spread the word everywhere you go. The thing that was interesting for me, well, let me hold on to that thought for 1 minute, and tell me where you guys are coming in from in the comments. I want to know who's here for sure. It makes it much more fun for me. So now I've been in business 10 years, almost 11 in a couple of days, and I've worked with over 200 clients. I think it's close to 225 clients, and supporting them in all kinds of ways, all kinds of ways. And most of the time, the clients either come telling you, this is what I want you to do, and I'm going to show you how I want you to do it, or they ask you to help them figure out how to do it. So it's very rare that a client will show up and not have any input into into the work. Hello, Lynn. Hello. I used to live in Jamaica Plain, Massachusetts. I know where Randolph is. Jamaica Plain, everybody calls it JP, is part of Boston proper. But now I live in Connecticut because I could, and that's the thing. I'll mention that in a second. All these thoughts are popping into my head. And then the other thing is I've made over $1 million. That sounds so like sensationalized, that I've made $1 million, but I actually have made over $1 million, probably more like 1.1 or $1.2 million, working from my home with no superpowers other than I'll figure it out, or you bet I can handle that. That's really the primary skill that I was selling all this time. And now today it looks very different, over the course of time, figuring things out, building systems, understanding how this works. And I want to show you, this is us last summer. So this is my daughter, Emily, all grown up almost, right? And this is us in our backyard. Now, here's the thing about this. So this very handsome man right here, I actually married, here it is, last weekend, not this last one, but the weekend before. And, being a virtual assistant really had a lot to do with that being able to happen. So I lived in Boston. He lived 264 miles south in Connecticut. And because this relationship, we've been together almost 10 years, pushed me to get everything into the cloud, pushed me to build the systems, because I wanted to be able to, thank you, Lynn. She says, congratulations. Thank you. Yeah, it's very exciting. Very exciting. What's that quote I love? It's from Under the Tuscan Sun. I can't believe I can't just whip it out, but it's something about, really wonderful things can happen even late in life. It's such a surprise. It's just wonderful things. And this is a wonderful thing that's happening. And so I met Greg. We went to high school together. We met at a high school reunion, and we started to see each other. And he worked in New York and had a job. And so it was easier for me to come down here. So I would come down, I bring Emily with me, and we set it up so that I had a place to work, and everything was in the cloud. So literally I would turn on the computer down here. I don't like working on the laptop so much. I like to have multiple screens and I need some space. The laptop's just too small for me. And so we had this set up, and I would drive down, and it was all just like I left it in Boston. I would bring with me my notebook, which I've always had a notebook next to me to jot notes down, but that was the whole thing. And I moved during the week, and my computer was already set up when I got here. We had to unload the moving van and all that stuff, which we did, but I didn't have to miss any work. And I told my clients that I was moving and what was going on, because I was really excited that I was moving here. That was 6 years ago. But I didn't really need to tell them, because it impacted them absolutely zero, which is amazing. And now Greg and I, we're empty nesters. Emily's in college and his boys are in college or are out. And we're starting to think, well, what if we got an RV? And what if we traveled around? And what if, we work during the day and change direction, change location in the early evening. And, what could that look like? And really there's no constraints at all, except Wi-Fi access. I do know you have to make sure that you have that handled. But anyway, so what I want to talk about is, because I went down this path, and because I decided to take matters in my own hands and not get a job where I was really, stuck in an office, certain amount of hours, putting in FaceTime, so that the boss makes sure they see you, in the office, whether you have stuff to do or not. And I started to have choices, and I started to be able to decide how much money I wanted to make, because you really can do that. I didn't have to wait for the 5% increase or the sorry, we didn't make any money this year, or whatever the heck. I got to handle it, and I got to make decisions. And the other thing is, I started to be able to, hold on a sec, I just spilled my tea. I started to be able to breathe again, and I started to be able to well, here's what it was. Hold on, I'm just cleaning up my mess here. This is what happened. This is what I want to tell you. One of my friends said to me after I moved to Connecticut and I was here for a few months, she said, if I would have said to you that, 4 years ago, that you were going to have your debt handled, your daughter was going to be thriving, your business was going to be off the charts, you're going to be making 6 figures, you're going to find this amazing man, you're going to just totally want to be with him all the time. And now if she were to say to me, a week ago, you're going to end up marrying him and settle in Connecticut, and all of these things that were not even possible, because what I really thought was that at my age, when all this was happening, that I had made a certain amount of decisions that led me right where I was. And I didn't see how I could shift that, like how I could shift where I was headed, because the boulders were just too big. I mean, everywhere I looked, there was a mess to clean up. And here I am, and the mess is cleaned up. And I want to be really transparent. All of the debt and all of the stuff is not gone, but it's manageable. I'm not fighting the monthly payments anymore. I'm not hitting the minimums. It's consolidated, it's neat, it's clean, and I know exactly how much it is, and I know what I need to do to take care of it. So if any of that is resonating with you, I hope you'll really hang with me here while I talk about the ins and outs of being a VA, so you can see if it's for you. And Lynn says, I hope to move to Maine someday and work from my island cottage in the warmer months. You can totally do that. You can totally do that. And what's interesting is that before the pandemic, a lot of managers were like, oh, can I trust that they're doing the work? Oh, how will I know if they're at their desk? And, all that shifted. It's all shifted because it had to. And I'll say there's never been a better time to be a VA than now. So I want to tell you about my free online classroom, which actually we just surpassed the 14,000. We have 15,000 members in over 147 countries. And we're located on Facebook. I'm streaming there now, so you might be watching it right inside the group. I'm also streaming on YouTube and Periscope, which is Twitter. So if you're there, come on over to Facebook, type in the virtual assistant connection and click the join button. And I'd love to have you. Tons of valuable video, community. We have an ambassador program where there are 8 women ready to answer your questions. I am absolutely in the group as well. So come on over, check us out. I'd love to have you. All right, so, okay, let's see. So Lynn says, waiting for them to install a more robust internet up there. I want to show you something. I think it's in my drawer, but it might not be. Oh, here it is. I was charging it because we had a hurricane. We were supposed to have a hurricane yesterday, so I was charging this. This is a mobile hotspot. This is high-speed access that I have brought with me to remote areas. That works really well. So check this out. You can use, well, not while I'm driving the car. While Greg is driving the car, I can sit in the front seat with this. You can connect up to 5 devices. I don't remember how much it is a month, but I want to say $20 or $30. Check that out. You know, you don't want to be on this because it uses your cellular data. You don't want to be on this if you know, you're downloading gigantic files, which I mostly am not, or doing a ton of video. But yeah, check this out for sure. You get it from, it's called a mobile hotspot, and you get it from your cell service provider. So AT&T, you know, mobile, what is it? T-Mobile, Verizon, one of those. Okay, so check that out. All right, let's jump in. Okay, so I want to talk about what a virtual assistant is and put us all on the same level playing ground because I think a lot of us in the face of not all the information, we make things up that are stories up that are worse than real life actually is. Okay, so the reason, you're welcome, Lynn, the reason I want to talk about what a virtual assistant is because I think that in my experience, a lot of people think that being a VA is some highly technical, you know, I've heard people say, I don't have the technical skills to get paid that much. If that's not the case, it actually takes courage more than technical skills. I mean, you have to be able to operate a computer. You need to be able to type. You know, there is some base knowledge, but it's not marketing automation and ClickFunnels and, you know, opt-ins and all that kind of stuff. You don't need to know all that kind of stuff to make a good living. You know, I don't think I told you how I got to that $1 million. The first year I was a VA, I made $70,000, and every year after that, I made at least $100,000. Sometimes it was 101, you know, right there, and other times it was well over that. All right. And the thing is, no question is off limits. Okay, so ask me whatever you want. All right. A virtual assistant provides administrative, technical, or creative assistance to clients. So you can see how broad that is, right? Administrative, technical, or creative assistance. So you could be a VA who does graphics. You could be a VA that is a web developer. You could be a VA that's, you know, that does calendars, scheduling meetings, things like that. Here's the key. But instead of working full-time for one person or organization, he or she works virtually, usually from home, providing the same types of services to a wide range of clients or to a range of clients. So you have more than one client. All right, so I just want you to see how much space there is in there, okay? Now, these are 7 questions that I came up with that we're going to talk about today. And if you have any questions other than that that you want me to talk about, just throw them in the chat, okay? Throw them right in the chat. We may get to all of these, we may not, depending on how you all take me on this journey. But that's what today is all about, okay? So are you ready to work on your own? What do I need to do to get started? Where do I get clients? How much money can I earn? What training's required? Can I work part-time? And who hires virtual assistants? So those are just the questions that I came up with, okay? And we're gonna go beyond these questions to anything that's on your mind. You just have to let me know. All right. So the first question, are you ready to work on your own? So let's talk about that. Being a business owner is very, very, very different from having a job. Yes, clients are giving me work and in essence sort of telling me what they need me to do. However, the time that I decide to sit at my desk or what I decide to do first, next, last is really up to me. So you have to have the ability to manage yourself, to have some discipline. Because yes, you get to do whatever you want, whenever you want to, unless you have a meeting scheduled. However, there's a certain number of hours you need to put in at a certain hourly rate in order to make the math work. And we're going to talk about that math. All right. So, so the question is really, do you want to be a business owner? Do you want to, sorry, I was just thinking about the risk factor, and I want to make sure I talk about that. Do you want to pay, manage your own taxes? Do you want to manage, your hours? Do you want to manage the money coming in? Do you want to make decisions about your expenses? Do you want to market your business? And I actually have a way that I teach virtual assistants how to grow their business. I don't call it marketing. I actually call it sprinkling. In the real world, it's called relationship marketing, but it's really a way to sort of be everywhere all the time using a system that gets you a steady stream of clients. So you don't have to be a marketing genius. You do have to put yourself out there, though. So the number one question is, do you want to be a business owner? Not just someone's helper, a business owner. Are you self-guided? So we talked about that a little bit. I get up in the morning, I take care of, what I need to take care of. I am a mother of 12 backyard chickens. So I let them out and I feed them and I grab some breakfast and I sit down and I look at what I need to do, prepare myself for my day, and I dive in. And I'm pretty much at my desk every day full time because I want to earn a full-time income. You don't need to be at your desk full time, but you do need to make sure that you're going to get the work done. You're going to get the business part of your work done so that you can be successful, whether it's part-time or not. There are certain things that you need to do. Now let's talk about risk. This is really very interesting because when I first started my business, there was a voice in the back of my head and I kept thinking, am I crazy? There's no 401k here. Like people, are getting 401ks matched and I'm paying for my own health insurance. And like, what the heck am I doing? And I thought I must be crazy. And eventually those voices stopped when two things happened. One, I started to make enough money to pay for my own insurance. And I'll talk about that in a minute. The other is that people who have jobs have what I call the single point of failure. The single point of failure is when your boss gets scared about money if he owns his own business, or his boss, if you work for a big company, gets, a budget cut and all of a sudden they don't need you anymore. And one person decides, single point of failure, you're gone. So if I have, like right now, I have 30 clients. If 10 of them went away, which is very unlikely that 10 would all leave, they don't even know each other, right? So it's not like they'd have a meeting and discuss it. I could still be fine. I still could be. I would be fine. I would be just fine. And I know what to do to get more clients. So it'd be just a matter of doing that. So think about risk in a different way, when you think about that single point of failure. And I think, a lot of people have been laid off. I was laid off in September 11th. As a result of that, I was laid off. I was a technical project manager. Our clients were businesses that were practically going out of business, like United Airlines and, American Express and, travel related industries, a lot of them, and there were no technical projects going on. And so, they let go 1,200 people in 2 days. I worked for a really big company. So you just want to think about that, factor that in when you're talking about risk, okay? Anything come to mind about this particular question? Okay. All right, what do you need to get started? You actually do not need that much. That's another sort of common myth, that you need a lot of software and it's really expensive, and that's really not true. You definitely need a dedicated workspace. Now, what I mean by that is a surface. It could be a door that is big enough to hold your work, a chair that is sturdy, comfortable. You want to make sure you're taking care of your back, because I'm in this chair more than I'm probably in, no, I'm actually in this chair more than I'm in bed, I would guess. But you want to be able to walk away from your work and then come back to it. That's really important. Part of the beauty of working from home is to have Emily come home and I hear her and I walk out and talk to her and then I can come back. I had a friend once who, I don't know why she did this, but she worked on her dining room table or her kitchen table. And every night she had to pack her stuff up. And every day I heard her complain about it. I'm like, why are we doing this? Because the truth is you only need, where I've worked in my office has only ever usually been this much wider than my desk on either side. I've been in the living room, the dining room. I've been in a part of the bedroom. I've been in, a nook. So you don't really, you don't need an office. I have an office right now. My office came as a result of being a mostly empty nester. And I finally said, why am I working in the bedroom? We have an empty room and no one's coming to visit. So in March of 2020, I took it over, I painted it, I love it. It's my special little place. I have it decorated exactly how I want to, but you don't need that. And I made that $1 million without this room. So you really don't need it. You need to be able to talk about what you do. So I spend a lot of time, and if you go into the Facebook group and you look at the guides section, click on the guides and you'll see information on all kinds of things. And there's a webinar called, I think it's called Sprinkling Your Way to Really Great Clients or something like that. My picture's on the cover and it's pink. The first slide is pink and you can see it in the thumbnail. And what I talk about in there is, all right, so imagine this. You go to a networking event and you're going to be a virtual assistant. And someone says, what do you do? And what we tend to do is we start talking. We talk, keep talking, and we keep trying to say the thing that is going to make someone hire us right then in that moment. What we want to do instead is we want to tell them what we do clearly in like 1 or 2 sentences so that they can remember it and they have an idea what you do. And we've all done this whole talking thing. And we've also had people do it to us. And when they do it to us, I don't know about you, but I feel like, oh, I gotta go. Like, I don't even know what they're talking about. So what I teach everyone how to speak about what they do in a clear way so that people can refer you. They can remember you. They can reach out to you at another time when they want to hire you. So this is a really important factor, is to be able to articulate what you do. The next thing is you need to be clear about your pricing. So imagine you go to the dentist and you get your teeth cleaned and you ask the lady, the receptionist, how much is that? And she's like, well, it's Tuesday and he's known you for 3 years. So I think we're going to give you the 3-year discount. And no one else is really here today. So we're really grateful that you're here. So it's this number. And I know that that's really ridiculous what I'm saying, but that's what people do. They do it all the time. And you don't need to do that. You don't want to do that. You want to have a pricing structure that is really clear, easy to understand, and easy to implement so that it doesn't become a barrier or something you're spending a lot of time thinking about. So I have something that I teach. It's called the Rocket Girl debit card system. What happens is people prepay my time in 3 or 5 hour, in 5 or 10 hour chunks, and the time is good for a year. There's a whole bunch more about it, and you can learn about it if you go over to the VA Connection, either the Facebook group or the vaconnection.com, and look in the blog. Tons of information, and I'm sure an entire video on it. But what happens is it's so easy. In fact, when I start to talk about my pricing, people say, how does it work? My first words are, it's really easy. Here's how it works. So take the edge off. We're going to talk about money. It's not going to be bad, and then I just explain it. I tell them exactly how much it is, what their investment's going to be, and I practiced saying it so I can say it in a conversational tone. So I don't freak out. Same with how to articulate what I do. I say I'm a virtual assistant. I work with solo professionals. I help them with their back-end administrative things like blah, 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 blah. And it's the same thing every single solitary time. My daughter could likely repeat it because she's heard it 20 million times. I don't change it up. I don't make it situational. So this is really what you need to get started. Yes, you need a computer. Yes, you need a cell phone. Yes, you probably need Microsoft Office. But other than that, for the most part, the clients are going to provide the solutions. You know, if you're going to do social media for them, they're going to provide the social media account. If you're going to do their email newsletters, they're going to bring MailChimp or Constant Contact or whatever the tool is that you're going to use. So these are the things that will help you get clients. Have a place to sit, be clear about what you do, and be clear about your pricing. And that is maybe surprising some of you, but that's really what I think you need to get started. So I'd love to hear any thoughts about that. I know there's kind of a delay, so I'm just going to wait a minute. Okay, here we go. Number 3. Where do I get clients? Clients are everywhere. Clients are everywhere. Clients are, they're at the school bus stop. They're at wedding receptions. They are at networking events. They are your friends' friends. They are your dentist's friend. You know, they're really everywhere. And at the core of it is this, though, and that's why I'm mentioning it again. You have to be really clear, really clear. One sentence, maybe 2, tops. Okay. The other thing is you want to spread the word every single place that you go. So let me give you some examples. When I first moved here, I went to the dry cleaner, and if you open a dry cleaning account, you get free delivery. Well, what's better than free delivery? And they pick it up too. I don't want to be going to the dry cleaner. So, I had them on my desk, but I just put them in my wallet. Maybe I have one here. So what happens is, nope, they're not here. I thought I had a business card really handy. So what happens is that when I guess I don't. Sorry. All right. What happens is when I go to the dry cleaner and they say, "What's your address?" I have my business cards right at the top of my purse, and I just whip one out and I say, "This will be easier for you." And there's my address, my phone number, whatever they need. And then they say, my business is called Rocket Girl Solutions. They say, "Oh, what's Rocket Girl Solutions?" And then I say the one sentence, "Oh, I'm a virtual assistant. Do you know what that is?" "Yeah, this is what I do, blah, 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 blah." And then I stop talking. And then I let them have a minute to think about it, right? Or actually, it's probably more like that long. And then they come back and they say something. So it's really important to tell everybody. Tell the dads at the bus stop. Tell the people you meet at the wedding reception. Don't be shy about what kind of work do you do, you know? And then tell them quickly and clearly what you do. You don't have to dominate the conversation. You don't have to make the whole conversation about work. But most of the time when people hear what I do, they have a couple of responses. They say, "Oh, I could use a virtual assistant," or "Wow, I would love to do that," or "That's really cool. That's really cool." That's usually what they say. So that makes it fun, and then they get engaged in the conversation, and it goes from there. So spreading the word everywhere you go. Now, there are specific ways to do that. Email newsletter, #1 fastest way to get clients. Absolutely. Also, keep in touch emails. So emailing people, "Hi, how's it going? Hope you're having a nice summer. Can't believe it's almost fall." Just checking in. So again, look at those videos in the Virtual Assistant Connection and look at the blog posts. And there's lots of information about how to do that specifically. Okay. It's so funny giving this presentation to you guys. You're so quiet. I give the same presentation at SCORE, and there's usually so many people there. SCORE is a retired executive nonprofit organization that's connected to the Small Business Association, the SBA, and they usually have 1 million questions. You guys are a little shy. In fact, they just asked me to do this presentation in December. They're so organized right now. I was really impressed. Okay, so let's talk about money, okay? So a couple of things I want to tell you. I have had VAs say to me, I know I have to pay my dues before I can charge the big bucks. I want to tell you there are no dues to pay. There are no dues. You don't have to pay any dues. You don't have to do it for a certain amount of time. Here's what it takes right here. Skills, yes. But it's not skills like marketing automation. It's skills like figuring stuff out. Like, for example, one of my clients this morning, she asked me, can you go to GoDaddy? Yes. Can you set up these 3 email addresses, and can you make an alias for this one? I know what she's talking about. I don't know specifically how to do it on GoDaddy, but GoDaddy has phone support, and I know that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log into her account, and I know that I need the PIN and the username and password, and I have all of that. And I know that because I have past experience, but how you get the past experience is you do it and you bumble through it the first 5 times, right, or whatever. And now I'm ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to GoDaddy, log in, see what kind of setup she has. If I've seen it before, I'll handle it. If I haven't, which is likely, I'll get GoDaddy on the phone. They'll walk me through it, or they might even do it for me. I'm charging her for this time, and then it'll be done, and I'll let her know. I'm not going to hide the fact that I called GoDaddy, but I'm just going to say this is all set. Thanks. Most of my clients don't really want to know how I did it. And if they do, I'm happy to explain, show them, teach them whatever they want if they want to do it themselves. But for the most part, it's just the skills of figuring things out and being confident to really say the number. So let me tell you my story. So I started out 11 years ago, and when I had been in corporate 10 years before that, I made about $100,000 as a technical project manager at an advertising agency. Now, the technical stuff that I did there has nothing to do with being a VA, like resetting passwords on a server or managing a Microsoft Exchange rollout. Like that doesn't even help me set up a 365 account. It's such a different language, completely different. So it wasn't like I was like really high tech. It was, like being a Lotus Notes developer, which I did that for a brief amount of time because I was really into it. That didn't help me be a VA at all because I don't use Lotus Notes. I'm not creating databases anymore, ever, so, but I learned how to figure it out. Like it was that logic and next steps and that kind of thing that really served me. And I did learn that, over the course of my career. All right. So I start out, I'm going to go out on my own, and I decided that I was going to be $50 an hour. Now, that might seem really high, but this is what I thought. I thought in corporate America, $50 an hour is about $100,000 a year. The market already said that I was worth that. I'd had more than one job, in that range. And I thought my brain is my brain, and that's what my brain can command in the market. Now, if you did not make $100,000 in corporate, that's okay too. It's just how I figured it out in my own brain. Like I had to justify it, which I really didn't have to, but I felt like I did because I was scared. I was, I had to make this work or I had to get a job. So that is the part that's challenging. All right. So Lynn says, I have found it helps to agree on an hourly rate, but to build into the contract that I will be increasing my rate $5 to $10 in 3 months. Yeah, you can totally do that. What I tended to do was I would raise the rate on the new clients and then bring the old ones up, over time. So I started at 50, I raised it to 60, I raised it to 70, 75. Every single time I raised my rates, I thought for sure that was it. Like that was it, and every time I raised my rates, I had to practice talking out loud and saying them out loud. Lynn says, yes, right? And so what it would give me was the confidence. So if I'm at 50 and I bring on 5 new clients at 60, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is working. No one, and yes, some people go away. Some people go away now. That's okay. I don't have enough time to work with everyone who's ever spoken to me because of those 225 people I've worked with. I would love to do a calculation, and one day I am going to try to do that, where I figure out how many discovery calls I've had to get the 200. Well, a lot of them are in person. That would be impossible, but I'm guessing that those 225, it's probably like 30%. I've had twice as many calls that we didn't work together, we weren't a fit, and that's fine because I just got really good at discovery calls. So if I were going to have one in the next 7 seconds, I would just be able to get on Zoom, pick up the phone, talk to them, no stress, because I've done it so many times. And when I'm done, somebody knows all about my business. They know all about it. So now I've got somebody out there that may or may not hire me now or in 5 years, but they might have lunch with their friend, and their friend might say, oh my gosh, my email inbox is a disaster. And they say, you should talk to Belinda. She can fix that for you. You should talk with her. So all right, so let's get back to the story. So I raised my rates over time, and I got all the way to $120 an hour. I brought on 26 new clients that year. That was great. The problem was they weren't really using me because they were treating me the way that we treat other highly paid professionals. Like my lawyer is $500 an hour. I don't chit chat. So I go in, I'm out, like we're done, and that's what they were doing. And so I was making less money overall, and I wasn't enjoying myself. And I didn't like how the clients were treating me. So I ended up coming up with a rate of $90 an hour if people buy 10 hours, so $900. If they buy 5 hours, I always say that it's $100 an hour for 5 hours, so $500. That works great. I consistently bring on 2 to 3 clients a month. People fall off, they either have project work, or they retire, or they don't want to do this anymore, or whatever it is. They don't want to work on their business. They're really busy. But that's how my story has unfolded. Now, the key to the whole thing is the confidence. And I believe that by raising my rates a little bit over time, because really each time I got to the next level and people were willing to do it, it was like somebody was pumping me up with air, like, okay, this is good. This is good. And then, you just get to the place now where someone will say to me, and they have, let me tell you this whole story because this is good. So recently, 3 people came to me with discovery calls right away. Yeah, I mean, in a short period of time. And it really shone a light on the whole process because, they were like every other day for, within a week or something. So the first one came and she had all these tasks she wanted me to do, and she knew how many hours she wanted to buy and how much she wanted to spend. Now, what she had in mind not only did not align with what I was offering, but it's impossible. Like, I don't care what kind of superhuman you are, what she wanted to do could not be done in that amount of time, and she had no idea. So I explained that to her very nicely and respectfully, and told her that she might want to think this through a little bit more, and I was sort of consulting to her a little bit for 30 minutes, no big deal. She was very grateful. So instead of me saying you're insane, that can't be done, I'm like, well, you might want to think about this, because if you're doing this and this, then that's going to have to be done. And I talked to her. I knew almost immediately when we got on the call, we were not going to work together. And so I relaxed and I just talked to her. Okay. Now, the next person who came, we were talking, and my rates are on my website. They have been on my website since the beginning for 2 reasons. In the beginning, I put them on my website because I was afraid that because I'd come out of corporate, that people thought I was consulting. And I wasn't consulting, I was doing the work. So I didn't want them to go to my website and think I was, $200 an hour. So I put $50 an hour. Now, what's happened over time is I don't get as many tire kickers. They're serious when we get on the call because they've looked at my website. So the second woman came and she had not looked at my website. She asked me about my pricing, and I said the same thing I always say. It's really simple. Here's how it works. I explained it. And after I explained it, I stopped talking because there's nothing else to say. I've explained it. And she said, that's on the high end. And I said, you're right. It is on the high end. And I stopped talking. I didn't go into it. it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we're not a good fit, because there are other people that will be. Now, if I had worked with either one of those women, the first one would have been a nervous wreck trying to and I would have been a nervous wreck because there's so much stress around the money. The second one, I don't know, she might have been okay, but she decided not to work with me, but that's all right too. The third one came, and same kind of call. And she did not want me to do, none of them wanted me to do really high tech stuff. I make certificates for her. I create attendance sheets for her to check. Everything I do is pretty much in Microsoft Word or Excel. No, it's all in Word tables. She gave me all the tables. I just copy and paste people's names into it. And then I created some forms for her on Jot Forms, which is very straightforward and easy to learn. Anyway, we talked. I told her my rates. I stopped talking, and she said, I could tell she took a second, and she said, "That sounds great. Awesome. Can I send you something to do right away?" And I said, "You bet. Here's the link. Buy your time." And and I really haven't talked to her since. She explained the work in a Zoom call. I kept a copy of it in case I needed to refer back to it. I've done it enough times now that I don't. And she and her team send me things. They tell me when the deadline is. I send it to them. That's it. And I'm just doing my thing. So that's a lot of how being a VA works. So it's really about your confidence more than anything, because people do pay me $100 an hour to do pretty straightforward things like copying and pasting text into a Word document and formatting it. I've made a lot of money with PowerPoint, just taking and making sure the headers are all the same color and the footers match, and it's the right colors that match the logo. And I'm not a graphics person at all. I have a graphics person who works alongside of me. My clients pay him separately, and if we need him, and he provides me, with all the graphics that they need, and I'm just really the PowerPoint person. And in the beginning, I had a PowerPoint for Dummies book right next to me because I didn't know the stuff that I figured out in the meantime. All right, so let's talk about training. All right, so you can start right where you are. You can absolutely start right where you are, because 99% of the time, your client's going to tell you what they want you to do, and they're likely going to tell you how they want you to do it. Like this last client, she got on Zoom. She's like, "Open this up. This goes here. Format the pages like this. These are the 3 kinds of programs we have." She explained it. There's no way I could know that or figure it out right ahead of time. No way. So if you go to thevaconnection.com, right in the middle, scroll down a little bit, and you'll find there's 3 yellow boxes. One of them says, "Download the ultimate VA money-making task list." In there's 12 pages of all the things you can do as a virtual assistant. This is not a to-do list of all the things to learn. This is not a list of to help you feel bad about all the things you don't know. I can't even do all the things in there. This is a list of oh, look at this, I can do this, I can do that. The other thing you can do is go to my website, rocketgirlsolutions.com, and click on my services page and see how I have it formatted and what I do. So you can absolutely find things. You only need 1 to 3 things that you can do to get started, okay? You don't need a list of 20 million things. I've added to my list over time, okay? So the other thing that you need to know is how to run a business. And that is really critical. How to fire clients, how to onboard a client, how to do all kinds of things, about your business. And that's what the VA Connection is really focused on. Yes, when you join the group, we talk about, I do weekly webinars on, how to create a freebie and, all of the different things. How to use certain tools, things like that. However, what I'm really mostly focused on is how to run your business as a business, because that's what's going to separate you from the rest. That's what's going to really make you able to be a success in your business. So I think that training is more important than learning MailChimp. You need to know that too, but there's lots of videos on that. It's how to run a business. Now, people ask me, can I work part-time? Absolutely. So there's a few things to consider, though. You need to consider the type of work. I have clients who know that I'm at my desk 99% of 9 to 5. They email me. I'm an integral part of their business. It's almost as if I'm sitting outside their door in the olden days as their admin. So you don't want to take on clients like that if you're going to work Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 1 to 5, because that's not going to work. So you want to consider the type of work. You're going to want to also set the expectations. So let them know when you're working, when they can expect to hear from you, and you want to keep a consistent schedule, because there's nothing worse than someone not knowing, where you're, when am I going to hear from you? When am I going to get that back? So you really working part-time, you need to be a super extra wonderful communicator. When you see the email come in, even if it's, during your Monday, Wednesday, Friday time, say, thank you, received, I'll have this for you tomorrow, and to let them know if you're not going to be in, back and forth with emails with them during the course of the day. Now, if you want to know who hires virtual assistants, anyone pretty much who understands what we do. So here's some of who my clients are: small business owners, authors, financial planners, coaches, consultants, nutritionists, recruiters, real estate agents. I could go on and on and on. And I have hired VAs in the past. At one point, I thought I wanted to run an agency, so I hired some VAs, decided I really didn't want to do that. I wanted to do the work myself. And so I do. But you can have any, however the model works for you is how you'll be successful. So those are my 7 questions. What questions do you have? Here they are again. How many of you are on here are already VAs? Tell me if you're already a VA. Time management. So Lynn, tell me a little bit. I guess the question is how do you manage your time? I'm going to go with that. And if that's not true, let me know. You have to get systems. You need systems to manage your time. So let me think about what I want to say about that. I have rules that I set for myself. I'm kind of a Girl Scout, meaning I feel, and Lynn says she's already a VA, I feel more comfortable when I know what's going to happen. And I had to get comfortable with a little bit of chaos to be a successful VA, but I'm able to create enough parameters that it works. So for example, I'm a full-time VA. My hours are really clear. And while I might not know exactly what I'm going to do that day, like the woman who emailed me this morning about the GoDaddy email addresses that I'm going to take care of tomorrow, I haven't heard from her in months, so I had no idea. And I did know some things that were already on my calendar. So I blocked time on my calendar. I have all the things that I need to do. Yep, Lynn's saying she blocks time. Oh, it's Myra that's already a VA. Sorry. Oh, both of you are. Sorry. Okay, here we go. Okay, great. Yeah, time blocking works really well. So here's what happens. So Emily, not my daughter, but my client Emily, emailed me this morning and she said, I want you to do this thing. Okay, great. So that's in my email inbox. I put Emily's name on my calendar, and that means there's a to-do for Emily, and it's a certain color, so I know it's a to-do and not a meeting. What I do is, like right after this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my calendar and I'm going to say, okay, other things I need to get done, what's going to be next? What's the priority? I look in my email inbox. Oh, all right. So we'll talk about that too. I look at my email inbox, see if anything new came in that's pressing, and I'll put that on my calendar if I'm not going to handle it right now. Now, I am a huge fan of Toggle, and I'm going to tell you how I use it. Because either way, if people prepay your time or not, you have to account for your time if you work by the hour. And even if you're on retainer, I still want to encourage you to track your time to see if it's working out. Because a lot of times when we go by how we feel, it's not accurate. You could feel like you're at your desk all day long and you haven't actually billed an hour. So in order for me to hit my revenue target, I need to bill between 35 and 37 hours on average a week. So I'm looking at Toggle all day long. How many hours did I bill today? How many did I bill this week? And that lets me know how I'm doing. So a very exciting day for me is it's noon and I've already billed 4 hours. I'm like, yes, this is awesome. Because I know I'm going to hit that target. And I kind of play a game with myself while I'm doing it. So the time goes into Toggle. So here's how it works. So I do work for a client. I do all the work, all the things, close everything down, and then I put the time into Toggle. I don't have the thing running because that does drive me crazy. Like I'll write the client's name, like Joe, the time I start, do all the work, glance back over, look at the clock, and then put it into Toggle. So that's how I manage that. All right, so we're going to hang out for a couple more minutes. Oh, who hires VAs? So here's what I want you to do next. If you are not a member of my free online classroom, come on over. I'd love to have you. If you are, that's awesome. Be sure to check out the guides. If you click the word guides at the top of the Facebook group, there's a ton of information. There's over 100 videos. We do webinars every Wednesday. This Wednesday, we're going to talk about, it's an hour, Wednesday at 10 a.m. We're going to talk about what happens when life throws you a curveball, because that happens. I don't know if you're like me, but I manage my life. It's not always, I manage it so that if everything goes perfectly, I'm fine. And then sometimes, like everybody else, something happens and it's like, oh, I didn't plan for that. So we're going to talk about what to do when that happens and how we can kind of look ahead and set expectations of all the things that we've got on our plate. So Lynn says that makes good sense. Yeah, Toggle can be annoying if I don't like it, like clicking, and then the other thing is I've learned a few tricks, like, I write down the time when I start the project. If the phone rings and I answer it, or my daughter walks in the room and she wants to talk to me, I just very nonchalantly, glance at the time. And so I know in my head when I started talking to her. So I don't have to say to her, I'm on the clock right now, I can't talk to you unless that's accurate, but that I can just, make the adjustment in the time without worrying about it and with being fair to my client. All right, so any last comments before we scoot for the day? If you're thinking about being a VA, check it out. It's really good. I can't say enough about it. I love it. It's given me a lot of flexibility, and it's a nice lifestyle. It's a really nice lifestyle. You're welcome, Lynn. Thank you to all of you for coming, and I'll see you in the Facebook group. Okay, bye.